Good morning, Discovery, and a special good morning to you today, Stephanie. And the song, The Presence of the Lord is Here, is a great way to start a fine Sunday morning.
Good morning, Shannon, and happy Sunday morning to you, too. There's certainly a very special presence being in space above the atmosphere. It makes you very thankful for the support of family and friends and of our excellent ground control team. Every day, but especially yesterday when all of our hard work really came together and paid off. It's a very unique experience, and I'm blessed to be part of it. Thank you for the song, Shannon.
You're very welcome, Stephanie.
Well, hey, today, Hal, our long-distance dedication from KISS Radio, and it won't be the last one today, but that one goes out all of the folks that refuse to let the sun go down on the International Space Station. And, you know, I have said it before, I know others have said it before, but, you know, all you have to do is give NASA a problem and have people tell them you can't solve it. And by golly, we put everybody together, and we just bust it down. We solve it every time. So to all you folks out there, Elton John says, we're never going to let the sun go down on the ISS.
Well said, Clay. Well said.
Houston, ISS on 2.
Go ahead, Clay, on Space Ground 2.
Al, good morning, and I have a favor to ask with your indulgence in the control center. I'm kind of short of my famous cities from Nebraska. There just were too many cities, so I'd like to kind of rip off a few of them at a time periodically through the day with your indulgence.
I'm looking around the room, and I see at least one person who's shaking yes. That may be all, but yeah, go ahead. Why don't you give us a couple right now?
No, the governor of Nebraska was there. Tell him I said hello.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to name off Rose and Royal and Roseland and Rulo, Rushville, St. James, St. Liberty, St. Mary, and St. Paul, Nebraska. That's my first installment, and I'll hit you periodically throughout the day because I know, Hal Getzelman, that you are thrilled about being able to hear these cities.
I am just can't wait till the next one comes up. I'm actually thankful that there's an extra hour in today's day just to have cities from Nebraska.
I knew it. I knew you would, Hal. Oh, man, that is just music to my ears. Houston Alpha on the Big Loop, and the private conference is complete. You can normalize Space to Ground 2, and thank you so much to the BMEs and the VHPGs and all the folks that have pulled those together for me over the entire increment. It's a huge asset, especially for me, and it was a big difference maker in my ability to stay up here and perform steadily for 5 months. So thank you very much.
Clay, thanks for the call down. We will normalize Space to Ground 2, and all those parties got those words. Thanks for sending them.
You bet, Kev. Thank you.
This is Mission Control Houston with you with a view inside the U.S. Destiny Lab, where you can see a number of the crew members in their final hours of the docked operations. Commander Peggy Whitson is in the lower left portion of your view, and Clay Anderson is at the top portion of your view. He will be returning with the shuttle crew after 137 days as a space station crew member, but now officially a mission specialist on the STS-120 crew. He's working with Dan Tani, who is in the green long sleeve shirt. Now he is joining the Expedition 16 crew, and Anderson working with the Melfi, or the -80 lab freezer. We're removing some samples that will be returned on this STS-120 mission. Also in the lower left of your center view is Paulo Nespoli. This is a view from the orbiting complex as they're making their way over Martha's Vineyard and Cape Cod area off the east coast of the United States. This is a view from about 200 miles overhead as the vehicle continues on a southeasterly course that will take it over the Atlantic Ocean and just south of the tip of Africa.
Sweet. But dude, Clay's still over there. And Alpha Houston, we're back with you on the other side, still waiting on KU.
Okay, great. Houston, before our departure ceremony, we wanted to do a little bit of a handover ceremony. Yuri and I officially took over when we swapped out with Oleg and Fyodor, but now we'd like to swap out Clay and Dan. And I know I have a lot to look forward to with Dan working together. We have an exciting stage ahead, and we're looking forward to it. And he's proven his stuff with robotics yesterday. I was very impressed. And of course, Clay is somebody that has been extremely entertaining for me. I've had a great time in just a few weeks that we've been here together. It's been a great opportunity for us to share, and I wanted to hand over the mic to him.
When Sonny came up, we kind of started a little tradition, so I'd like to do a couple more dedications from KISS Radio, and the first one's kind of self-explanatory, I think, so if you'll just hold on for a minute. There will be no cities from Nebraska during this ceremony.
Houston copies and concurs.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. It's you must go and I must buy.
Welcome aboard, Dano. And then for me, I've got a few words I'd like to say to everybody on the ground. You know, Clay doesn't like to talk very much, but in order to carry this off, I kind of had to write it down. So if I can find it, here, we'll just use the computer. So today's my last day on board the International Space Station, Alpha. And about 5 months ago, I was lying on my back in the middeck of the orbiter Atlantis, preparing to launch into orbit for the first time and wondering what the heck I'd gotten myself into. And now I'm poised to return to Earth after having served very proudly on board this magnificent complex as part of 2 expedition and 3 shuttle crews. And as my time draws to a close here, I'm filled with a lot of different emotions, and I have a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that I've left on board the International Space Station. It's a very wonderful place. So I want to take this time to thank each and every one of you. You've been my special family down there in the ground for quite some time. And as is true of families on Earth, I sincerely believe that we've all created some very fond memories. You all have kept me safe. You have shown me unwavering patience and professionalism. And you've all overlooked my shortcomings, and it's my hope that maybe you even had a few laughs along the way. So what I'd like to say is what we are doing here is very important for all of humankind. It's worth the risk, it's worth the cost, and you folks on the ground are the people that make it happen. So I want you to take pride in your work and constantly look toward the heavens, for it is there that you'll see your future. To all the flight control, training, and engineering teams in Houston, Huntsville, and Moscow, I say thank you. You are indeed the best and the brightest that our world has to offer.
Hey, Clay, we appreciate the words. Big round of applause from your ground team here on behalf of all the ground support team. Great work on your expedition, and we're looking forward to having you back here at home.
And I'd like to do one last dedication from KISS Radio. I probably don't have a second life as a DJ, but I'd like to dedicate this song to you guys on the ground, to my family, and to me.
Congratulations, Clay. And Peggy, before you pick up again, if we could, we'd like to give you a final sign-off from your Orbit 2 team. Is that okay? But we're going to stay and watch, of course.
Absolutely.
We just wanted to say it's been an absolute blast working with every one of you. You guys really did go places we've never been before, and you absolutely nailed it. Congratulations. I'm going to put your flight director on, Derek Hosman, for a few words. He's going to give you a parting shot, and we'll see you guys real soon.
And Alpha Houston on one, hey, it's really, really great to see everybody together there in the lab. And I just wanted to echo Kevin's comments. It was an honor and a privilege to watch you guys do your work, and just what an unbelievably successful mission. When I released my team today, I asked them to spend a little bit of time going back and thinking about EVAs 1 through 3, which we all worked so hard to put down and plan. And, you know, it seems like a month or so ago, but those went off unbelievably well, perfectly, and you know, the last 4 or 5 days were a complete blur, but what a way to end the mission. Great job, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Derek. It's wonderful to hear your voice. And thank you for all of the Orbit 2 team. You've been fantastic.
All right, and we'll see some of you guys very soon. I'm looking forward to it.
We are too. I guess this is the time when Discovery officially welcomes Clay with open arms to our crew. We can't wait to bring you home to your family, and we're very happy to have you. I think it's not even a question of fitting in because our crews have matched so well. There's been a lot of laughter and a lot of fun and a lot of really hard work over the last few dock days. And it's also our time to say farewell to Dan. He told me not to do this. Dan has brought us so many wonderful memories and so many wonderful moments. From going to Knowles together, all the training that we've done together, and a truly incredible day together yesterday. Just kind of brought so much time, so much effort all together for all of us. So we're going to miss you terribly. We promise that we will send somebody to come pick you up and bring you home. And to Peggy, thank you. It's just been an honor and a privilege to share the command of this mission with you throughout the dock time frame. And our personal relationship has just made it all that much better. And Yuri, thank you so much for all the help that you gave to us as well. We simply could not have accomplished the mission without everybody's help. And so the two crews have worked together so well that this is one that we will always remember. We're family now. Peggy says she's done.
There will be no cities from Iowa during the increment 16.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're watching a farewell ceremony between the STS-120 Space Shuttle Discovery crew, Commander Pam Melroy there in the center of your view with some hugs. The rest of the crew likewise wrapping up with their farewell words. As discussed, Clay Anderson, now a member of the 120 crew, and will be returning with the Space Shuttle crew after wrapping up his long-duration space flight, 137 days as a space station crew member. In his stead, Dan Tawney, now a flight engineer on the Expedition 16 crew, just beginning his long-duration stay on the International Space Station.
Took a look down a westbound road, right away I made my choice. Headed out to my big two-wheeler, I was tired of my own voice. Took a beat on the northern plains and just rolled that power on.
Good morning, Discovery. And that song, Roll Me Away, was just especially for you today, Zembo.
Thank you, Shannon. That's a great song about a road trip, and we've had a great one, but it's time to turn around and head for home. We'll take a long last look at ISS and bid farewell to her and her crew, and we're going to leave a friend behind and bring one back with us. So that song is for my dad, Conrad Zamka, who's always been my #1 supporter. I love you very much, Dad, and look forward to seeing you soon.
And we are looking forward to seeing all of y'all real soon also.
Houston and Alpha, Discovery has physical separation.
Houston copies.
Alpha copy.
Discovery undocking from the International Space Station at 4:32 a.m. Central Time as the two spacecraft orbit 218 statute miles above the South Pacific. Discovery at a distance of 15 feet, flying out at 1/10 of a foot per second.
And Discovery, station is in attitude control. Discovery copies. Shuttle departing. Discovery copies. Thanks, Peggy. Thank you guys for the module and all your help. Alpha and Houston, Discovery at 89 feet HHL.
Houston copies.
Discovery now about 150 feet away from the International Space Station, 12.5 minutes since undocking. 20 minutes since Discovery undocked from the International Space Station, pilot George Zamka continuing to fly Discovery away from the station to a distance of about 400 feet before conducting the fly around the complex. The fly around expected to begin just after 5 a.m. Central Time. Discovery will conduct a full fly around of the International Space Station, allowing the crew members to photograph the station's new configuration following the STS-120 mission at the complex. The first separation burn will be conducted about 5:47 a.m. Central Time when Discovery is in front of the Destiny lab again. And then the final separation burn expected about 6:15 a.m. Central Time. Is now a snapshot from the camera set up on the flight deck of the Space Shuttle Discovery. Discovery pilot George Zamka conducting the fly around of the International Space Station. Discovery's crew members assisting with monitoring the systems and Discovery's distance from the International Space Station, also taking photographs of the space station and its new configuration following the joint mission. Continuing to watch the snapshot views from a camera on board the Space Shuttle Discovery as the fly around of the space station continues.
Houston is calling in 2 for KFX. Just let you know that we put in one of the docking cards in there with no pictures.
Hey, Paulo, we copy. Thanks very much. And for Zambo and Pam, fly around looks excellent. You guys are doing a great job.
Hey, thanks, Fergie, but we're all just cheering Zambo on. It's absolutely, I don't think people appreciate how difficult it is to do a fly around with absolutely no trajectory information. All he's got is HHLDT and the raw TCS at the bottom of the screen, and it's pretty challenging to do this, and he's doing a fabulous job.
We agree wholeheartedly. We would never know that he doesn't have the data. It looks great.
He's smiling.
This view from the International Space Station watching the Space Shuttle Discovery fly around. Discovery more than 600 feet away from the International Space Station after having undocked an hour and 9 minutes ago. Onboard Discovery, pilot George Zamka is at the controls, conducting the fly around.
Discovery Alpha on the big loop. Zambo, great job, buddy. Great job flying. Really cool to see out there. Dan Boichi, thanks very much. We're going to miss you, but we know you're going to have a great time up there with Peggy and Yuri. And have a great expedition, and we'll see you on the ground. I'll do that, man. And the whole boat crew, I miss you already, and fly safe, get home safe. I see you on the ground, and thanks for not only the great ride up, but the great year and a half together. And I owe you one. Just one.
Scott said that was beautiful.
Hey, see you guys later. Take care, and we'll see you on the ground.
Yep, we'll see you on the ground.
This is a snapshot of a view from a camera on board Discovery looking back at the International Space Station.
Houston Discovery on the big loop. SEP burn is complete.
On the big loop, Houston copies. Thanks, Pam.
And Houston Discovery on the big loop, we're going to give KU back to comm.
On the big loop, Houston copies. Thanks, Pam. Discovery Air to Ground 2, we have you live on the flight deck. Thanks.
Welcome aboard.
This is a view on board Discovery and the aft flight deck. Pilot George Zamka setting up for the final separation burn of Discovery's jets to depart the vicinity of the International Space Station.
Discovery, we show ourselves in Block 8 Bravo, starting Step 2, and this is on Air to Ground 2.
We concur, and we're watching. Thanks.
For the final separation burn, Discovery's jets will be fired for 6 seconds for a 1.5 foot per second burn.
Alpha and Houston, Discovery on the big loop. SEP is complete.
We copy. Thanks, Discovery.
Alpha copies. Drive safe now.
You too.
Discovery's pilot George Zamka has completed the final separation burn. Discovery on its way away from the International Space Station.
Houston copies. Thanks, Pam.
On track now for the planned landing at the Kennedy Space Center Wednesday afternoon. This is Mission Control Houston with a view from the Space Shuttle Discovery showing the shuttle robotic arm and its orbiter boom sensor system being maneuvered into position for the next survey of Discovery's heat shield to focus on the nose cap area that is comprised of reinforced carbon material. The survey of the starboard wing leading edge is complete. Next is the nose cap, followed by the port wing leading edge.
Hey, Pam, I know you're finishing up this scan here, but on behalf of the Orbit 1 shift, we just wanted to say what a pleasure it was working with you over the last couple weeks or so. We're going to turn you over to Tony, Mike, and then, of course, the entry team will be in tomorrow with you tomorrow. Have a great ride home, and we'll see you in a couple days.
All right, thanks, Fergie. You guys have been wonderful watching over us and taking care of us, and we can't tell you how much we've enjoyed working with you, and it's been a real pleasure. You guys have done a terrific job, and you deserve a rest and a pat on the back, and we'll be happy to give it to you when we see you next.
Have a good one. Thanks, man.
Houston Discovery with a weather report for Florida.
Hey, I saw Brian Lunny running around here just a minute, but go ahead with your weather report.
Yeah, well, we could see the runway from orbit, so we're thinking the weather there is looking pretty good.
Okay, outstanding. I can pass on what I have on my list if you want to know what the weather guys are calling it.
Yeah, we'd love to hear that.
Okay, for tomorrow, it's few at 3,000, 7 miles viz. The winds are the significant thing that they're watching, but they look like they're down the runway. They're calling them 340 at 14, peaking to 23.
Okay.
And Brian, we got the thumbs up from the little Vultures Row upstairs, and he copied your weather report.
Copy that.
Discovery Houston, take TACANs and GPS.
Copy. Take TACANs and GPS.
Just under 11 minutes to touchdown. The external aids, the tactical air navigation system, and the global positioning system supplementing the orbiter's inertial measurement units, receiving information about the vehicle's position.
Discovery Houston, energy, ground track, and nav are go. Your touchdown will be 2,900 feet at 195 knots, boards at 20%.
Okay, copy all. Thanks.
Tracking stations at Cape Canaveral show the Space Shuttle Discovery now 240 miles away from the landing facility at an altitude of 132,000 feet at flying at 4,000 miles per hour. Nine and a half minutes to touchdown. Tracking station showing Discovery flying at an altitude of 118,000 feet as it passes over the border between Georgia and Florida, flying at 3,500 miles per hour. Eight and a half minutes to touchdown. Discovery 140 miles from the shuttle landing facility. Tracking station showing it flying at an altitude of 107,000 feet at 2,900 miles per hour.
Discovery Houston, take air data.
Copy. Take air data.
Information from the air data probes on the left and right sides of Discovery's nose are being incorporated into the guidance and navigation control computers using the atmospheric pressure data and the airspeed. Six and a half minutes to touchdown. The ground tracking station showing the Space Shuttle Discovery flying at an altitude of 81,000 feet, flying at 1,600 miles per hour. Six minutes to touchdown.
Discovery Houston, you're on energy approaching the HAC. Update for winds. They're peaking at 23 knots on the head and 4 knots from the right. You'll be nominal shoot deploy.
Copy all, nominal shoot deploy.
Five minutes to touchdown. Discovery flying at an altitude of 875 feet. At an altitude of 60,000 feet, flying at 835 miles per hour. As Discovery approaches the heading alignment circle in front of the runway. And adjacent to its extended center line, Commander Pam Milroy will be flying Discovery around that imaginary cylinder to set up for the final approach, that a 195-degree turn to the right. Four minutes to touchdown. Commander Pam Milroy has taken over the flight of the Space Shuttle Discovery, flying at 600 miles per hour at an altitude of 44,000 feet. Three minutes to touchdown. Discovery flying around the heading alignment circle.
On at the 180.
Copy, on at the 180.
With 180 degrees to go, Discovery flying at 500 miles per hour at an altitude 24,000 feet under the command of astronaut Pam Milroy. Pilot George Samka continuing the flight of the Space Shuttle Discovery around the heading alignment circle.
Discovery Houston, on at the 90.
Copy, on at the 90.
Two minutes to touchdown. This view from the heads-up display. As Commander Pam Milroy continuing now to fly around the heading alignment cylinder.
Houston Discovery, runway in sight.
Copy, field in sight.
Discovery flying at 390 miles per hour at an altitude of 11,000 feet. 1.5 minutes to touchdown. Discovery is descending toward the runway at the correct rate and is lined up with the center of the runway, flying at 370 miles per hour at an altitude of 7,000 feet. One minute to touchdown. Discovery's descent rate is 20 times higher and 7 times steeper than a commercial airliner on the final approach. Discovery's landing gear is down and locked in place. Main gear touchdown. Commander Pam Milroy is rotating the nose gear down to the runway and nose gear touchdown. Discovery is rolling out on runway 33 at the Kennedy Space Center, wrapping up a 6.25 million mile mission. Discovery completing its 34th mission to space and the 23rd shuttle flight to the International Space Station.
Houston, Discovery will stop.
Copy, we'll stop Discovery. Congratulations on a tremendous mission and a great landing, Pam. And we'll meet you on page 5-3 with no deltas.
Copy all.
Space Shuttle Discovery and Commander Pam Milroy have brought home Clay Anderson after nearly 152 full days in space, leaving astronaut Dan Tawney on board the International Space Station to continue construction work with the Expedition 16 crew and the new Harmony module that Discovery delivered. The Expedition 16 crew on board the station just informed as well that the Space Shuttle Discovery has returned to Earth and safely landed at the Kennedy Space Center.
Houston, Discovery, ET umbilical doors are coming open.
Copy that, Zambo, and we're watching.
Well, hello there. It's nice to be back in Florida. Copy that. We read you loud and clear.
Discovery Houston for Pam.
Go ahead.
Pam, we're ready for the RAD reconfig on page 5-8. And when you get there in the middle, it'll be ammonia controller Bravo SecOn.
Copy, Bravo SecOn.
Houston, Discovery, do you want the hydraulic load test?
And we will not need that today, Discovery.
Copy.
This is Mission Control Houston, the team here in the Space Shuttle Flight Control Room continuing to monitor Discovery's systems, watching them being placed in a safe configuration now that Discovery is on the shuttle landing facility runway at the Kennedy Space Center. Discovery just completed a 15-day mission to the International Space Station. Main gear touchdown was at 12:01 and 18 seconds Central Time, with a mission elapsed time of 15 days, 2 hours, and 23 minutes. The nose gear touched down 14 seconds later at 12:01 and 32 seconds Central Time, with a mission elapsed time of 15 days, 2 hours and 23 minutes and 14 seconds. And when Commander Pam Milroy called out wheel stop, it was 12:02 and 13 seconds Central Time at a mission elapsed time of 15 days, 2 hours, 23 minutes and 55 seconds.
And Discovery
Houston, Discovery.
Go ahead, Pam.
No, I was just going to let you know the air data probes are checked and deployed, and we're ready for landing gear safing if you are.
We are ready for that, and we will be go for Ops 9 when you get there. And for Zambo, go ahead and hold off on that SSME repo until we get into Ops 9.
Okay, Discovery copies. Hold off on the SSME repo.
We'll give you a call when we're ready for it.
Welcome.
Houston Discovery, the RJDs are off. The side hatch, drag chute, and the landing gear have been safed.
Copy that, Pam. Thanks for the update. And like I said, your go for Ops 9.
Okay, putting that in work.
Discovery Houston for George. Your go for the SSME repo. Speed brake is not required.
Copy. Go for repo. Speed brake not required.
This is Mission Control Houston, the team here in the Space Shuttle Flight Control Room, continuing to work with the crew on board Discovery to configure all of the systems following landing at the Kennedy Space Center. A team of personnel at the Kennedy Space Center is ready to assist the crew in leaving the orbiter and configuring all of Discovery's systems to prepare it for towing to the orbiter processing facility. The safety assessment teams dressed in protective gear are using detectors to obtain vapor level readings around the orbiter to test for possible explosive or toxic gases before continuing on with the post-landing operations.
Discovery Houston, your go to DOF suits, and your also go for extended power up when you get there.
Okay, copy all.
And Houston Discovery moving to APU hot shutdown.
And we are ready for that, Zambo. Discovery Houston for Pam. Also, we are go for the BFS to standby.
Okay, copy.
And Houston Discovery APU hide shutdown complete.
Copy that.
And Houston Discovery post-landing MPS reconfig in work.
Copy that. We're ready for that.
And Houston Discovery, I just wanted to verify you want GPC 5 to stand by, is that correct?
That's correct, Pam.
This is Mission Control Houston, the crew on board the Space Shuttle Discovery continuing to configure the systems of the orbiter following landing at the Kennedy Space Center. The forward and aft safety assessment teams have completed their readings, and the purge and coolant umbilical access vehicles are moving into position behind the orbiter to gain access to the umbilical areas.
Discovery, you ready for GPC power down?
It's great to be out here on this gorgeous day. It's a little breezy. It's great to be back in Florida, especially the home of Discovery. We could not have done this mission without Discovery being as clean and beautiful as it was. Discovery worked perfectly, and I just want to say a big thank you to everybody at the Kennedy Space Center for everything that you do, because it takes the entire team to pull it together to launch a shuttle as clean as this. And that goes for the whole agency. I think the whole agency had to pull together for this particular mission. We saw a lot of very unusual things happen. We did a pretty amazing EVA, and that was very exciting. It was a thrilling day for both the Space Shuttle and the Space Station programs, vindicating both programs and their purpose and their flexibility in space. I just want to say thank you. We are thrilled to be back home. Sorry that Clay and Paolo couldn't be out here. They're doing great. They're just doing some extra medical tests, so they couldn't join us right now. But I know they feel the same way, particularly Clay. Can't wait to see his wife soon. It's their 15th wedding anniversary. So if you see Clay, be sure to say happy anniversary. And thank you to everybody for a beautiful vehicle and a beautiful mission.
Ist zur Erde zurückgekehrt. Sie landete vor gut einer Stunde auf dem US-Weltraumbahnhof Cape Canaveral in Florida. Die 7 Astronauten an Bord hatten während ihrer 15-tägigen Mission im All die internationale Raumstation ISS um ein neues Modul erweitert. Außerdem reparierten sie ein Sonnensegel, das bei Außenarbeiten beschädigt worden war.
Eins war es soweit, sanft und sicher ist die Raumfähre Discovery in Florida gelandet. Man könnte sich einbilden, der Jubel und die Gratulationen, mit denen das NASA-Kontrollzentrum die Rückkehrer begrüßt hat, klangen doch etwas erleichterter als üblich. Tatsächlich hat es eine so spektakuläre Mission lange nicht gegeben. Fast symbolisch ist da das Bild des Astronauten im Außeneinsatz, wie er auf der Spitze eines Roboterarms reitend ein unter Strom stehendes Sonnensegel flicken musste. Wagemut gehört offenbar wieder zum Geschäft. Leute, die sich auskennen, sagen, die NASA geht wieder bewusst auf Risiko. Hildegard Werth berichtet.
Kommandantin Pam Melroy legte eine Bilderbuchlandung hin. Glückliches Ende einer Mission, bei der die Zukunft der Raumstation auf dem Spiel stand. Die NASA zeigte Mut zum Risiko und ließ die Crew Dinge tun, die keiner von ihnen je geübt hatte. Am Anfang geht noch alles glatt. 2 Astronauten montieren den in Europa gebauten Verbindungsknoten Harmony. Zum ersten Mal seit Jahren bekommt die Station einen neuen, bewohnbaren Raum. Später sollen hier europäische und japanische Forschungsmodule angedockt werden. Dann die erste Hiobsbotschaft. Ein Solarsegel vibriert und verbraucht zu viel Strom. Die Crew entdeckt Schrammen und Metallspäne an einem Drehgelenk. Aber sie haben nicht das richtige Werkzeug dabei. Die Reparatur wird verschoben. Später kommt es noch schlimmer. Beim Ausfahren reißt eines der alten Solarsegel. Ohne dieses Segel kann die Station nicht weitergebaut werden. Die ISS hat jetzt ein ernstes Energieproblem. Houston denkt sich eine tollkühne Rettungsaktion aus und Scott Parasinski soll sie durchziehen. Alles, was er anfasst, muss isoliert sein, vor allem die Kneifzange, denn die Solarzellen, die er reparieren soll, stehen unter Strom. An Bord basteln sie aus allerlei Resten provisorisches Werkzeug. Auch der Raumanzug muss mit Klebeband abgedeckt werden. Der Roboterarm der Station ist eigentlich viel zu kurz. Ein Stück vom Kran der Discovery muss als Verlängerung herhalten. An der Spitze dieser halsbrecherischen Konstruktion schwebt Scott Parasinski zu der kaputten Stelle. Früher war der Astronaut Unfallchirurg. Souverän flickt er die beschädigten Teile wieder zusammen. Wenn er es nicht geschafft hätte, dann wäre der Ausbau der internationalen Raumstation für Monate blockiert worden.
Die Art und Weise, wie dieses repariert wurde, das ist schon eine tolle Leistung gewesen. Ich weiß nicht, ob man das Risikobereitschaft nennen sollte oder einfach Ingenieurkunst.
Aber der Hitzeschild bleibt eine Schwachstelle bei allen Shuttle-Missionen. In Cape Canaveral wird gerade die Atlantis startklar gemacht. 2 Flüge traut man ihr noch zu, dann wird sie verschrottet. Für Europa stellt sich die Frage, wie es nach der Shuttle-Ära seine Astronauten zur ISS bringen will.
Es gibt entsprechende Überlegungen, auch Verhandlungen mit den Russen. Aber es ist sicherlich auf lange Frist auch vernünftig, dass Europa über einen eigenen autonom bemannten Zugang zum All nachdenkt.
Hans Schlegel hat sein Ticket ins All in der Tasche. Er soll schon in 4 Wochen mit der Atlantis in die Umlaufbahn fliegen.
Good morning and welcome to NASA headquarters in Washington. It's great to see so many NASA employees and their families here today, and especially pleased to see so many students here with us today. We're here to hear from the crew of STS-120, which was the mission this fall of the Space Shuttle Discovery to deliver the Harmony module to the International Space Station. So we're looking forward to hearing from the crew and about their mission. And to introduce the crew today, we have the Administrator of NASA, Dr. Michael Griffin. And now, to move things along, let me introduce the Administrator of NASA, Mike Griffin.
Talk about a superfluous role, as if David couldn't do just fine. But thanks for having me here today. I don't always get to do these, and it's one of the more fun things to be able to do, is to be here when one of our returning crews has a chance to come to D.C. and tell everybody at headquarters what they did on orbit, and in fact show you what they did on orbit. It was a pretty exciting mission. Here to talk about it today, of course, first is Commander Pam Melroy, who commanded the mission, retired Air Force colonel, on her third flight, and who knows what the heck, maybe one more to come, huh, Pam? We still got time. Pilot on the mission was George Zamka. You'll meet him in a minute. Mission specialists were Scott Parazynski, Stephanie Wilson, Doug Wheelock, and Paolo Nespoli from Italy. So we have 6 of the crew. Dan Tanney, of course, flew up and came back just recently. He's not available here today to brief anybody on the mission, but we have the other 6, so here you are. Pam? Wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much, Mike. And just want to say thank you for all the support and the appreciation that you've shown the Astronaut Office and Flight Crew Operations Directorate since you've been administrator. It is really a pleasure to work with you. Well, and thank all of you for coming out today. This is sort of an exciting moment for us in the life cycle of a mission. This is the 3rd time I've been through it, and you get sort of an appreciation for the rhythm of how things go. And before you fly, you spend so much time dress rehearsing, preparing, really deep into the details of a mission. And then you have the tremendous excitement and the adrenaline of executing it. And this is the time when we get a chance to actually reflect a little bit on what we did, come back and tell our story and share it and relive it again at a much different pace where we can appreciate it and enjoy it. And so it's actually very special for us to be able to come up and tell the story as well. And there's a very important reason to do that. For each one of us in the Astronaut Corps, there are a few thousand NASA employees who do not get the chance to go to space, but are just as critical to the exploration of space. And we have a tremendous appreciation for that. We understand that although we get the opportunity to do this unique thing, we can't do it without the support of everyone in the agency. There is an unbroken chain, and it is all the way from the guy who turns the wrench on the shuttle, to the people who do vibrational analysis on the space station, to the people who help us get funding from Congress, to the people who help us administratively and make things happen. We are all linked in a very important way, both the safety and the success of human spaceflight, and indeed all spaceflight that we do rests on each of us. We cannot afford to break a single chain. And so it's our opportunity also to come back to each of the centers and say thank you for what you do every day, and just to remind you that we do appreciate what you do. We know what you're doing is important, and each one of us has a tremendous responsibility to not be the link that breaks. And so lest you think that what you're doing today is a little bit of a grind if you're having that kind of day, especially when it's sort of a rainy, bad day like today, we just want to remind you how much we're counting on you and how much we appreciate each one of you doing your job well, to allow all of us to continue on with all of our jobs. So I'll talk about the mission a little bit. We do have a mission video to show. And I realize that with so much going on at NASA, it's sometimes hard to keep track of everything. David did mention that we brought the Harmony module up, and the Harmony module was an extremely important module because it's the link for all the international laboratories on the International Space Station. It was built in Torino, Italy, obviously by the Altec and Alenia, thank you. Sorry, and just had a brain loss for a moment. And the Italian Space Agency, of course, shepherding that, and ESA. And so that was our pleasure to have an ESA astronaut with us as well. But we take tremendous pride in having that, delivering that piece, and allowing International Space Station science to come into full flower with the addition of the international laboratories. So it's a very exciting thing. It's a perfect name for it, the Harmony module. As if that weren't enough, though, somewhere in the assembly sequence we got another responsibility, something that's very unusual. Usually when we put something on the space station, we leave it where we put it. It's usually such a big effort to just get it up there and get it attached and get it going that we leave it in place. In this case, we were actually relocating a solar array. Now, the very first solar array, P6, went up in 2000, and it was actually critical because we really couldn't have people living aboard the space station until we could generate the amount of electricity that was needed to keep them alive. And so the P6 solar array has always been the first case for everything. It was the first time we deployed a solar array, first time we retracted a solar array. And in this case, we relocated it from its original spot on top of the station when there was no truss existing. We moved it all the way out to the port end. And obviously that's a major operation, and it consumed 2 of our 3 EVAs. We had some other EVA activity planned, but all of our plans kind of changed at the last minute, and we'll tell you a little bit about that in the movie. But it turned out to be more excitement than we ever anticipated or dreamed. And believe me, it was a pretty exciting mission, even if we'd done it exactly as written. So it turned into somewhat of a drama at the end, but it was a happy ending. And so we're excited to show our video and tell the story. And now I'd like to expand a little bit and introduce the rest of the crew. I'd like to start with George Zamka, the pilot. George, if you'll come on up. George is a colonel in the Marine Corps. He's a test pilot, and this was his first mission. So he's a commander in training, and we're excited about that. He is going into commander upgrade training very soon. He was responsible, in addition to all the other duties of pilot, which of course backing up the commander when I was flying. He also undocked from the space station and flew it around, and he also operated the space shuttle robotic arm. So, George. Next, we have mission specialist Scott Parazynski. Scott was on his 5th mission. So because he was on his 5th mission, he was a tremendous resource to me as the commander. I frequently asked his advice and put together our training plans and other things that we were doing with his terrific advice. He was our lead spacewalker. He performed all 4 of the spacewalks, including the exciting contingency spacewalk that we did on EVA-4 in a central role. Scott's a medical doctor. Emergency medicine. He's a former Olympic luge team coach, and he's an accomplished mountaineer who is going to be making an assault on Mount Everest later this spring. So he's kind of an underachiever, but we'll keep working on him. So, Scott Parazynski. Next is mission specialist number 2, Stephanie Wilson. Stephanie was on her 2nd space flight. Some of you might recall that she flew on the 2nd return to flight mission, STS-121, an awfully quick turnaround for her, but that was very much the case because I really needed an experienced robotics specialist. And that's what Stephanie did for us. She was our lead robotics person, and she was incredibly busy because this was a very robotics-intensive mission. In fact, in some cases, she would be flying the space station robotic arm, put the brakes on, and then scoot over to the space shuttle to fly that arm. So it was a pretty interesting mission for her in that regard. Once again, someone who I deeply relied on and really consulted on so many things. It was wonderful to have Scott for spacewalking and Stephanie for robotics to be kind of my support staff, and they were absolutely wonderful. Stephanie also had the fun role of being the flight engineer on the flight deck. So she sat between George and I on ascent and entry, and when we didn't do things right, she bonked us on the head with the swivel stick, and she ran our checklist for us and kept us organized and on track, and she did a fantastic job. Stephanie Wilson. Next, mission specialist Doug Wheelock. Doug, or Wheels as we affectionately call him, is a colonel in the United States Army, and he's a helicopter test pilot. He was also on his first flight. In addition to operating the space station robotic arm for several of the critical maneuvers we had, Doug really focused on spacewalking, and he performed 3 of the 4 spacewalks with Scott. Wheels is our happy guy. He's the one who always knows exactly what to say and when to say it and how to say it. And I've also heard that half of the ladies at headquarters are in love with him. So. Mission Specialist Doug Wheelock. And next Mission Specialist, Paolo Nespoli. Paolo is a European Space Agency astronaut born in Milan, Italy, which instantly elevated the fashion sense of this kind of regular nerd crew about 1,000% instantly. So we're very appreciative of that, and also of his tremendous skills. He was a rookie on this flight, but he had a tremendous sense of what we were doing, and in particular, I noticed when we went on a camping trip together at the beginning of our training, to prepare us for living and working together, just as we do in space. He just always seemed to be such an expert at creating and inventing solutions to our problems. And so I kind of call him the MacGyver of the crew. He's very, very creative, probably the most creative engineer I've ever met. Paolo had a tremendous responsibility on this flight. He was the IV, which is the internal spacewalk choreographer. So in addition to running the spacewalks, you know, of course, when they're out there, they have no checklist. So he had the 1,000-page checklist and kept track of the tasks for the 6-7 hour EVAs that were going on. He also had to suit them up. So it was started very early in the morning on the day of a spacewalk, and he was the last one to bed usually as well. And that's a tremendous responsibility. Having done it before, the feeling that you get when you put a helmet or gloves on a friend of yours, seal it what you hope is tight, and then put them out the door into hard vacuum, you realize that their lives depend on you in such a very direct way. It is a huge responsibility, and Paolo did a fantastic job. Paolo Nespoli. So one thing you might notice about the crew is that we do like to have fun, and you'll hopefully see that in the movies that we're about to show you. I do want to point out you probably saw a couple of the crew do it. Our signature move is a fist bump with spirit fingers. So you'll see that several times in the movie, so I wanted to point it out to you. And now, I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk, and I know you want to see the video. It's a ton of fun. So if we could roll the video, that'd be great.
and saw a lot of our friends out there as we worked our way to the pad. You'll see a fist bump here, I think, momentarily. Underneath the pad there it is, with the spirit fingers. And the vehicle is just a living, breathing being out there as we arrive at the pad, and we began to get strapped in with the help of our strap-in crew. Here's Pam getting strapped in.
Not sure of how much of the launch audio we will hear, but if we can bring up that audio, perhaps.
Engine start. 3 at 100. 1.
102, 102. Auto.
Throttling, 3 at 104. Looking for the roll. There it is.
International Science. Discovery has cleared the tower.
Discovery, roll program. LVLH.
Roger, roll, Discovery. On the right.
We'll watch the separation here. This happens at about Mach 5 at about 150,000 feet.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Less than 50.
Burnout and separation of the solid rocket boosters.
103, 103.
And then we continued on. The main engines went for about 8.5 minutes until we achieved our orbital velocity about 17,500 miles an hour. And we separated from our tank, ET-120. And this was a tank that had been mounted on as part of another mission and had gotten some rework. And this was a very, very clean, wonderful tank that served us well up into orbit. And then we opened up our payload bay doors and we started to go to work.
On the second day, we begin our vehicle inspection of the vehicle. We do using the robotic arm grappled to the orbiter boom sensor system. This is an accelerated graphic, but it shows you that we inspect both wings and the nose cap using the sensors that are at the boom tip, and we downlink the data to the ground for analysis. And during the maneuvers, the arm camera came overhead, the overhead windows, and so we took an opportunity to wave to our friends in Mission Control.
Flight Day 3 is really a sprint, a very dynamic day involved with rendezvous and docking with the space station. You can see the shuttle here is seen from the station kicking off a TI burn about 48,000 feet away. And we're using lots and lots of different sensors as well as laptop situational displays, and also an alignment site that Pam used to align the two spacecraft as we got closer to the station. About 600 feet below the International Space Station, we did a backflip which essentially enabled the space station crew to use their telephoto lenses to map our tile system to make sure that it was safe for us to come home. And thankfully, because of ET-120, had a clean bill of health, and you can see it's just a beautiful view. And then Pam took over on the aft flight deck.
It's pretty exciting for a pilot to be bringing two large vehicles together like this. The station is huge out the window. It's absolutely enormous. This is my third trip there, and it's just amazing how much it's grown. Fortunately, we are actually just using a camera system mounted in the shuttle, pointed at a target on the station, and so I'm flying visually. I'd like to bring you on board for the moment of docking, if we can bring the audio up a little.
4 inches, PCT.
Capture light.
Houston Discovery and Alpha, capture confirmed.
And ISS is in free drift.
Houston copies.
You can hear the ship's bell.
Discovery arriving.
Based on naval ship tradition, the space station has a ship's bell which is rung when we arrive and depart. This is a very emotional moment. We had not seen Clay Anderson in 5 months, and Peggy and Yuri in a while either, and so there's a lot of hugging and kissing that goes on when you get inside, but unfortunately you don't have a lot of time.
On our fourth day, we began our preparations for our first spacewalk, and Scott and Doug were the ones to go outside on this day. Paolo was the spacewalk coordinator with assistance from Peggy and Yuri on the space station, helping to get Doug and Scott suited up into their suits and ready to go. We also had robotic preparations. We had to hand over the orbiter boom sensor system between the two arms and position the station arm to be ready to meet Scott and Doug as they were coming out of the airlock. And they egress and take their first look down at Earth, which is a beautiful view. Doug rode on the arm with the S-band antenna that we took from the space station and stowed in the payload bay. This is a view inside the laboratory module with Dan and I, working with the Node 2 Harmony module. Dan was the operator on this day. He grappled the station robotic arm to Node 2, and we unberthed it from the payload bay. Through a series of robotic maneuvers, we were able to pre-position it and temporarily install it on the port side of Node 1. And the arm is a dream to fly. It's very easy to control. It's very nice to do the flying for that activity, and we were very excited to do that. In the top view, you see preparations for our second major milestone, the relocation of the P6 solar array. This is a view from Scott's helmet camera as he's demating the fluid connectors in preparation for that relocation.
A couple hours after the node was attached to the station, we checked for some contamination inside. Everything looked fairly clear, and so we went in there. We have a mask and goggles. Looks like we're robbing a bank more than entering a node. But eventually everything was clear, so we started removing all the launch restraint. And of course, next day out again for another EVA, this time to outfitting the outside of the node. You see a lot of handrails there. And also working on the P6 solar array. Pam and I inside coordinated spacewalk, and outside Scott and Dan here removing some of the connectors. And here Scott opening the claw that keeps the P6 attached to station. From inside the station, they can move the arm, the P6 away, and they have no direct view. So the EVA people, and you see the helmet camera view there, have to direct them and tell them how to move the P6. You see it moving there very fast. We don't move it so fast. It looks like a bus, actually. It's as big as a bus. We had also one thing coming up. We sent Dan to a solar array rotary joint to check out some things that was not working properly, and they found some contamination there. Something that was unexpected, but closed everything back to the node and continue with outfitting the part that is used for grappling the arm. And here we go for another VA.
Once we got the node attached and outfitted, Scott and I went outside for EVA 3, which was to attach this big, you can see it looks like a big bus with the solar arrays folded at the end there. Stephanie and Dan worked the robotic arm to get it all the way out to the end of the port wing. Scott and I made our way out to the four corners, and then ground guided it in as Dan and Stephanie guided it into the P5 truss. You could see the alignment there, and then Scott and I, that's Scott's helmet camera, I believe, there, as we're looking at the alignment, and we fastened all four bolts in the four corners. This is a neat picture from Scott's helmet camera. You can see the curvature of the Earth, and you see Discovery docked way out there, so it kind of gives you a little perspective how far out on the truss we were. At the end of this solar array, we also got a chance to take an electronics box that was mounted on the side of the shuttle payload bay and take it up to a stowage location outside the airlock. As we were doing this outside, from inside, the folks began to deploy the solar arrays. And of course, the first side came out great. It looked beautiful, got a full deploy discrete, and we are all very excited about bringing P6 back to life. And then as we deployed the second array, we looked out the window and we saw this little number waiting for us. And so this really helped us pull together as a team, and the complexity of the second part of our mission changed.
Yeah, at that point we had to throw out the plans to do the other spacewalks, and kicked us off into a very intensive planning and construction period where we had to build on orbit the cufflinks, so-called cufflinks, which were used as a load alleviation, and took a tremendous amount of effort on the part of the ground and the crews to work together to prepare.
Yeah, absolutely. On Flight Day 12 here, it was really the culmination of 3 days of brilliant work on the ground to get us ready, both with the tools we needed as well as the procedures, robotics and EVA to do this. You can see all of our tools, including our suit wrist disconnects, were covered in Kapton tape to insulate us from working around the charged solar arrays out at the tip of the space station. I jumped on the end of this 90-foot boom. It was the space station robotic arm plus the OBSS inspection boom. And Stephanie was at the helm of the arm, very smooth flying, and I was treated to this God's eye view of the whole space shuttle as well as the space station from an incredible vantage point. About a 45-minute ride out to the work site, and at the very end of the travels, and then and only then I was able to see what had really happened. There was actually a guide wire from the solar array that had caught with one of the hinge wires. Fortunately, I had all of the proper tools to cut that out, And then we installed the cufflinks that had been assembled with supplies that were available on board the space station by George and Peggy. You can see the first half of the cufflink going in here. Went in very, very nicely, thankfully. The second one, however, was a little bit more difficult, and I really wanted my buddy Wheels up there to help me. Unfortunately, it wasn't a stable enough platform, and I needed Wheels to kind of call my clearances to this big wave of the array as I was working on it. So I ended up having to use 3 tools with just 2 hands, and developed a technique to keep myself safely away from the solar array while doing that. And it worked just as folks on the ground had predicted. We installed 5 of these cufflinks across the breadth of the solar array, and here I am doing a layback to kind of glance up at the very tip of the solar array. We spent another 15 or 20 minutes observing the deployment of the solar array, and that went perfectly, thankfully, and the solar array is now generating 100% power and taking on loads, including the new Columbus module and soon to be the Japanese module. So we consider this one of the real triumphs of the shuttle and station era, the way the team came together to develop this plan. At the end of the spacewalk, we kind of coasted back to the airlock, and it was really beautiful just to pull off with my fingertips and coast for 30 feet without touching anything. It was spectacular. And after 7 hours and 19 minutes in the vacuum of space, we came back inside for a good meal.
Mission was not finished with the Fair EVA-5. We still had a few things to do. We did some talks with the Italian president, some with former President Bush. We had things to do, transfer stuff, and of course George and I took some time to look at the station also. We did a little bit of survey here in the Russian part, and then scooting around in the laboratory, trying not to bump the people actually working on the arm. And here's Pam moving water back and forth, and Peggy and Clay working on the Node 2, removing some of those launch restraints. Did a little bit of science, not too much, a little bit. We didn't have enough time. Here I am trying to work an experiment which is launching a ball that does not exist, kind of funny. Here we're talking to some schools in Italy using the ham radio, and this is some experiments that were brought up for Italian high schools.
And all of this was occurring, the entire mission with the Earth rotating as a backdrop below us, and we had some just spectacular views whenever we could get a chance to look outside and notice what was happening down below. These were the fires that were occurring in Southern California at the time of our mission, and they were pretty stark looking, as you can see, from 200 miles up. The fact that we could see them was pretty amazing. These are the Alps, and that's Italy stretching out to your left. And the mountains were particularly interesting, especially out at a distance. You could actually see the three-dimensional effect as they rolled towards you or away from you. And these are the Himalayas looking out the back of Discovery. On Flight Day 13, it was time for us to close the hatch. Before we did that, we did some typical things that we'll do as part of our farewell. We put our mission patch up along with the other missions that had been there, and we had a brief farewell ceremony. We were looking at bringing home Clay Anderson and leaving our friend Don Tani, who trained with us for a year. So you had two people that were looking at opposite ends of a space station adventure. It's a pretty emotional time, as you can see. Lots of hugs, goodbyes, kind of wet, moist. You know, a lot of tears flowing. And then we did, of course, our fist bump and spirit fingers to seal the deal before we closed the hatch. The next day, Pambo gave me the keys to Discovery, and we undocked. The undocking came about 10 seconds early, pretty close to on schedule, and our initial rate was provided solely by the springs of the latching system, and we came out at a very stately 1 foot every 10 seconds at about 30, and this is so we don't damage the space station with plumes. At about 30 feet, I do a single input just to double that rate out, and we back out very slowly and in a very controlled manner out to about 400 feet, and then we initiate a fly around of the space station so that we can do a photo survey of it. As you can see, the space station itself on orbit is very brilliantly lit. It reflects the sun. and the earth below it is very muted. It almost looks, matter of fact, we showed this to some movie folks a couple weeks ago, and they said this looks like a bad special effect. This is what it really looks like. And then as the sun set on the space station, we knew that our exciting adventure was coming to an end.
It's time now to get the orbiter ready for entry, so we have to configure our orbiting vehicle for an entry vehicle to be an entry vehicle, so we close the payload bay doors and get suited up back into our launch and entry suits. There's Pam getting suited up with the assistance of Clay and Doug and Scott, and we come to the flight deck and get our procedures ready, get our cards out for the deorbit burn, and review our procedures for that maneuver and that burn. You'll see here in a moment how the bags will move under the thrust of the engines during the deorbit burn. And as we're coming in, you can see the plasma glow coming off of the tail through the overhead window. So we have a very nice light show for Paolo and I as we're assisting Pam and George with the entry procedures. There's also a nice view out of George's window as we're coming in and entering. We can see the Earth literally screaming by beneath us.
Landing the shuttle is kind of interesting because, of course, it has no atmospheric engines, nothing that works in the atmosphere after ascent. And so it's the world's biggest glider. And it flies a lot like a large brick. So it's coming in about 7 times as steep as an airliner does on final. We happen to have one cloud right over the end of the runway, but we popped out at about 4,000 feet. And at that point, I'm hauling back on the stick to arrest our sink rate. George puts the gear down about 15 seconds prior to touchdown. Coming in on a beautiful day in Florida, a little bit windy, but dry and clear. Of course, we're still going pretty fast, over 200 knots, so we deploy the drag chute to help slow us down. It's a pretty amazing vehicle.
Within about an hour of landing, we got a chance to walk outside, and I think you saw Mike Griffin there and a lot of our other friends in NASA family that met us underneath Discovery. We got a chance to walk around and start telling our stories. Here I'm telling a story about fishing, and I'm not sure what I'm telling there, but it was nice to feel the breeze again and smell the Earth and look at this marvelous machine that took us safely to space and back home.
No. Well, you can tell that this is a pretty relaxed crew, and we like to have a good time, and we really wanted to tell our story in a movie, but one of the things that we found is that we had a lot of other fun video that we wanted to share, so we have sort of a blooper reel. It's real short, just about 2 minutes long. Wonder if you guys are interested in seeing that. All right. Really? You're going to have to go a little louder than that. Tell me. Really? Okay. Much better, much better. You know, while they're setting up the second video, I just wanted to emphasize, you do see the STS-120 crew here in front of you, but as you can tell, the only way we were successful with that final spacewalk was to completely and totally merge our crew with the space station crew. Dan Tawney, who we trained with for 14 months, Clay Anderson, who we brought back from space. It was our honor to bring him home to his family. Of course, the commander, Peggy Whitson, and Yuri Malenchenko from Russia. And I think that's what made it so hard to say goodbye, is that in order to achieve that spacewalk, every single person played a critical role in the activities, and it was a very rewarding experience to merge us together. So if we're ready, let's go ahead and roll it. Welcome aboard.
Doug and Dan, they had the job of throwing away some garbage, but they took their time with it. Thought they'd have some fun. Floating around in space was obviously tremendous, and we all tried different things to see what we could do. That was our Blue Angel pass. And this is Pambo after talking with the Italian president. And this is an OMS burn. This is down on the middeck. These guys were not directly involved in the OMS burn.
Weren't exactly ready for it.
This is Apollo discovering some of our rinseless shampoo. Maybe using too much. And then we occasionally had some music up there, and we would do some dancing or spinning. It's very easy to dance. That's Apollo's 4-almond trick. This is Clay. We told Clay to relax. Try and relax, Clay. These were, Apollo brought up some Italian espresso beans, which were very, very good for morale, but very bad for discipline. And, so Doug's trying to get a hold of me.
Will!
I can get one more bean in there. All right.
Alpha and Discovery Houston on air-to-ground 2. We're just a minute or so away from being ready.
Yeah, we were hiding from mission control before talking to President Bush, so we gave him a little scare there for a minute.
Good. It is great to see y'all, and it looks like you're having way too much fun.
That would be the STS-120 crew. Yes, we're always having too much fun.
Well, thank you. I know we couldn't really tell everything. We tried to get as much as we could, but I'm sure there are a few people who have some questions, and we do have a little bit of time for that. So we'll be happy to answer any questions. Not enough coffee yet this morning, huh? Okay. Yes, over here. Well, I hope it wasn't an accident, but it might have been. I don't know. How was I selected to be a commander? Actually, as you come into the Corps as the test pilots like George and myself, there's pretty much an expectation that we're in training ultimately to be a shuttle commander. And so after some experience, 1 or 2 flights aboard the space shuttle, essentially you go through a training program, at which point it's decided whether you're going to be a good commander or not. And then once you've passed that training course, essentially it's a matter of waiting your turn to be assigned. So I think it's a little more complex for the space station crew members because it's not as clear. They don't have quite the same clear career path with the pilots. You don't need to be a test pilot to be the commander on the space station. And so I think that's much more a combination of experience and demonstrated leadership skill. Yes, in the blue shirt.
What's your favorite thing to do in space?
I'll answer that. I have so many favorite things up there. It's just such a wonderful experience to float everywhere you go. Instead of walking, you kind of push off with your fingertips and fly like Buzz Lightyear everywhere you want to go. And so on the way, you can kind of do flips and spins and all sorts of really neat things. But I guess my favorite thing is getting a chance to go outside. It's just so spectacular to be out in the wide universe, as it were. It's really beautiful being inside the shuttle and the station. You have these beautiful big windows that you can see the planet below. You can see the northern lights and the southern lights. You can see continents in a single glance. But it's really neat when you get out on a spacewalk and all you have is just this bubble visor between you and the vacuum of space. So everywhere you look, you can turn around and you can look at the Milky Way, you can look down at planet Earth, you can look at the moon, and it's just amazing. I think you'd like it a lot.
Is the food that you eat in space the same as here?
Paolo, do you want to answer that, Paolo?
Yeah, we don't have pasta or spaghetti up there. I mean, there is no pan where you can cook stuff. Water will not boil really nicely up there. So, of course, food is very important because it serves as a nutrition for the body, but it's also a social event and it's a moment to take a little bit of a rest. So it's really important for many reasons. And NASA has, of course, given the right importance to this. There is a team of people at Johnson Space Center that look at this issue. They have prepared something like 60 or 70 different type of dishes and drinks, and we get a choice up there. I mean, we get a choice 6 months before. We have to select what we want, compose a menu, and then we find it up there in a little tray. Once of us will be the cook of the day. Will open up the tray, take all these little packages. Some of them are dehydrated, so it means they are without water. You put a little bit of water in there. You put them in a kind of a drawer where there is a little bit of hot air circulating, so you get them a little bit hot. Then take a pair of scissors, cut them, and with a spoon eat them. So it's fairly good. It's fairly nice. It's good.
What Paolo's not telling you is that he arranged for some special Italian food to be brought on board, and it was very unique, very strong flavors. There's something that you really crave in space, and so like a tomato paste and an olive paste, pasta that was kind of spicy, and the infamous espresso-covered coffee beans from the movie. So we enjoyed that tremendously. Yes? Down here?
What's your favorite thing to do on the moon?
Ooh, you want to take that one, George?
Well, we didn't go to the moon on our mission, and hopefully we'll be going to the moon very soon, and it'll probably be someone your age or maybe a little bit older that'll be going back, and someone may be going to Mars from your age. So probably the first person to return to Mars has already been born. So talking about the moon, there's a little bit of gravity on the moon. I think what I would like to do on the moon most of all would be to jump, because I could jump much higher than I could and much further than I could here. And down here on Earth, how high I can jump is getting less and less every year. So I think I would really like to do that on the moon.
How important is exercise on the space station?
Stephanie, do you want to answer that?
Exercise is very important on the space station. It's a way that the crews who stay there can keep their cardiovascular fitness, keep their hearts healthy, and also to keep from losing muscle mass and bone density. And so they have 3 ways to exercise. There's a treadmill, so they can run. There is something like a bicycle, so they can bicycle on a stationary bike. And there's also a resistive exercise device, so it's kind of like lifting weights here at your local gym, like your parents might do, or like you might do in preparation for a sporting event. So it's very important to exercise, and that's actually one of the things that we're learning on the space station is how our human bodies react to long duration and ways to help keep ourselves fit while we're in space for a long time.
Question over here. Wheels, you want to answer that one?
What made me want to be an astronaut? Well, how old are you? I was 7. I was 9 when we launched Apollo 11 to go to the moon, and so I remember watching that on television, and I thought from that day forward I really wanted to be an astronaut. Actually, I wanted to fly, and so and you'll find that a very common thread in a lot of the astronauts that you get if you get a chance to meet them. We all have this passion and love for flying, usually initially. And then the passion for adventure and exploration, and just wondering what the next exciting thing we can see or experience would be. And so that's what made me want to be an astronaut was the vision and the excitement of the early years of our space program. And for you guys, just now young students in school, just the excitement of the building and completing the space station and the vision of going back to the moon and on to Mars. It's very exciting. Pam likes to say that we're here recruiting too because the first person that's going to step foot on Mars, which will probably be in about 25 years, is somewhere walking among us. Some young boy, young girl out there are with us now, and they will be the first person on Mars. That's very exciting to me. And so it's the same excitement, that same excitement that you young folks should have now is the same excitement that I had during the early years of the Apollo missions.
Let's see, we have some question all the way in the back.
If a lot of astronauts come from different countries, then how do you learn each other's languages before you're trained to learn them? How do you communicate?
Well, with the Italians, we just eat the good food, and we.
Well, but that's a good question. I'm still working on it. I mean, there are still a lot of things that I learn every day, but usually we do speak English on the space station. So especially all the astronauts that are in Houston, and in Houston there are about, I would say, about 95 American astronauts plus 15 astronauts from Europe, Canada, Japan, and some from Russia, and we all speak English. Of course, part of the station is built in Russia, and so a lot of us go to Russia for training, and there we learn a little bit of Russian, try the minimum required necessary to operate the system, read the procedures, and be a safe astronaut up there. But in principle, you're very lucky because that step for you, it's already done, I guess. Of course, everybody tells me, I like the Russian astronauts saying, it's not true that Russian is very complicated. I learned when I was a kid and it was no problem. So, as a kid, you're very powerful. You can do a lot of things, and you need to remember that.
I think there was someone else back there, too. Yeah.
How did it feel like to go on space?
Go ahead, George.
You know, this was my first trip into space, as well as Doug and Paulo. So the three of us kind of shared this adventure together. And for me, I'll talk about the first few minutes, which was getting onto the space shuttle and getting strapped in and kind of lying on your back for a few hours waiting for the countdown clock to go to 0. And then right at 0, you could feel there's a lot of shaking from the solid rocket boosters igniting. And so there was a lot of shaking kind of going through our chest this way, and a lot of excitement, obviously. As we were climbing on out, I kept feeling that, I guess, G-force or pressure pushing back. I was trying to do the job, the things that I was needing to do, but then my commander, Pam, was very nice and told me to look out the window. So I took a break and looked out the window, and I had a beautiful view of the east coast of the United States as we were climbing out. And then we rolled right side up, and the Earth looked to me like a big beach ball. It was very, very bright and sunny outside, and it was just a beautiful view. And then right when we stopped, all of a sudden I felt like I was upside down. It was very bright, but because of the 0G, I wasn't used to it yet, so I felt like I was upside down, and a lot of cheers down below, and it was just a wonderful first couple of minutes. It was almost like being, I don't remember being born, but it kind of felt like I was being born into something new. So.
It's right here. Wow, I'd like to answer that, actually, because the coolest and most interesting thing that you can see from the shuttle is the Earth. It is amazing, and our two-dimensional film and pictures do not tell the story. One of my most favorite memories from one of my missions was seeing a sheet of thunderstorms, just hundreds of miles, 600, 700 miles across, with this lightning show lighting up the clouds in what looked like a strange kind of harmony. You know, you'd see a light go off here, and at the same time, it looked like 100 miles away at the same moment. So this tremendous light show, but you could also see off in the distance the northern lights. And you could see the stars off in the distance as well. And so I felt like I had this view from the clouds to the upper atmosphere to where we were all the way out to the universe. And looking at that, I'll tell you what, I studied astronomy, and people used to ask me, what's your favorite planet? And I always used to say Neptune, because I studied it. And then I got to space, and I thought, what am I thinking? Earth. Earth is my favorite planet. I don't want to live anywhere else. So I think we only have time for one more question. So let's see if we can, maybe little girl in blue right here? Yes.
What's your favorite planet?
Oh, okay. Well, my favorite planet is Earth. Do you want to live anywhere else in the solar system? No, probably not. Maybe visit. Maybe visit. Maybe we'll take one more question. How about right here? Yes. Yes.
Why have a space shuttle?
Say it again.
Why have a space shuttle?
Why do you have a space shuttle?
Scott? Well, that's a great question. That's a great question, Drake. We all have met Drake prior to the presentation. The reason we have a space shuttle is for a lot of reasons. We built it in the late 70s, early 80s. The first flight was in 1981, and we've been flying it ever since. And we've used it to launch a number of satellites, including the Hubble Space Telescope. We've gone up to the Mir space station, the old Russian space station, to do science. We've had laboratories in the sky, both in modules and also out in the payload bay. And right now we're using it to get things up to the International Space Station. So like on our mission, we took up the Italian-built Harmony module, and I guess next week or the week after next, we'll have another launch with another module. So we're continuing to build this International Space Station. So it allows us to bring up large pieces of the space station and people and bring things back to Earth as well. So it's been the workhorse of our space program for over 25 years now.
It's true. It's a remarkable vehicle. We'll miss it when it's gone. As excited as we are about the next vehicle, that'll be great too. Well, thank you again, everybody. You have been wonderful, and thanks for sharing our excitement about the mission. And you've just been very enthusiastic, and we really appreciate that. And we appreciate all the support you give us. Have a great day.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed it. And thanks to the crew of STS-120 for joining us today. And for more information about NASA, especially all you kids, take a look at our website, www.nasa.gov. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.